The night sky over Earth was clear, filled with countless stars. Most people never thought much about them. To many, they were just dots of light, far and unreachable. But to the scientists working at the Deep Space Listening Station in South America, every star was a possibility. Every signal a chance to learn something new. Dr. Elena Marquez sat in front of a glowing screen, headphones resting around her neck. She had been on duty for 10 hours, tired but still alert. Her job was simple: monitor the incoming data from the massive radio dishes that scanned the heavens. Most of the time it was silence. Sometimes a burst of static or a faint echo of a pulsar. Rarely, a message from one of Earth's satellites drifting through space. But that night, something different appeared. The signal came suddenly. A strange repeating pattern that did not match anything in the databases. Elena frowned, her hands moving quickly over the keyboard. She filtered the noise, enhanced the waves, and slowed them down. Her heart skipped a beat. The pattern was too structured, too deliberate. "This isn't random," she whispered to herself. She ran it again, this time translating the bursts into visual lines. They formed shapes, symbols of some kind. She didn't recognize them, but she knew one thing. This was a message. Elena pressed the intercom button. "Control, this is Marquez. I think we have something." Within minutes, the quiet room filled with people. Technicians, linguists, and officers from the Global Science Council crowded around her screen. The symbols repeated again and again, almost desperate, like a voice crying through static. "Run it through the translation software," one of the officers ordered. The computer struggled, analyzing the unknown symbols. At last, fragments appeared on the screen. The words were broken, incomplete, but the meaning was chillingly clear. SOS, colony, under attack. Help us, and the room fell silent. For the first time in history, Earth had received a direct cry for help from another world. News spread quickly. Governments held emergency meetings. Debates erupted on every channel. Some leaders argued that it wasn't humanity's problem. Others warned it could be a trap. But among the noise and fear, one truth was clear. The message was real. A second transmission confirmed it. This time, the signal carried coordinates. An alien colony orbiting a star nearly 40 light-years away. The message ended with an image, blurry but recognizable. A city in flames. Alien figures running for shelter. Strange enemy ships filling the sky. Humanity had dreamed of finding intelligent life for centuries. Now, not only had they found it, but that life was begging for rescue. Admiral Jonathan Hale, commander of Earth's Space Defense Fleet, read the report late into the night. He was a man who had served his entire life preparing for dangers that never came. Now the danger was here, but not from Earth. He gathered his officers. "This is bigger than any one nation. If we respond as humanity. If we ignore it, we send a message to the stars that we are cowards." The officers shifted uncomfortably. Humanity's space fleet was small, only a handful of warships, most built for patrol and defense, not interstellar war. Their engines were fast, but even with experimental drives, reaching the colony would take months. "Sir," one officer asked, "are we even capable of helping them?" Admiral Hale's eyes were steady. "We may not be the strongest, but if we do nothing, we are no better than the enemies tearing that colony apart. Humanity has always survived by standing together. Now we have the chance to prove that spirit among the stars." Meanwhile, scientists across the globe worked day and night to decode more of the message. They learned that the alien species called themselves the Lumerians, a people of graceful forms and brilliant minds. Their colony, located on a lush world orbiting the star Ventara, was home to millions. The attackers were described only as the Swarm, a relentless force that consumed everything in its path. The Lumerians were advanced, far beyond humanity and technology. But the messages suggested something strange. Despite their machines and knowledge, they were losing. Elena, now part of the official translation team, asked the question many were thinking. If they're more advanced than us, why can't they stop the swarm? No one had an answer. Public opinion divided. Some feared that helping the aliens would bring war to Earth. Others saw an opportunity for friendship, for proving that humanity was worthy of standing beside other civilizations. Across every city, people argued, protested, and hoped. One boy in New Delhi wrote a letter that went viral. "If they called us, it means they believe in us. If someone asks for help, you don't turn away." That simple sentence moved millions. Soon, volunteers filled recruitment centers. Engineers offered their skills. Families donated supplies. It wasn't just governments anymore. It was humanity itself rising to answer the call. Weeks later, the expedition fleet gathered in orbit. It wasn't large, but it was determined. A dozen warships, a score of converted freighters carrying supplies, and research vessels equipped with the latest technology. Flags from every nation painted the hulls, but at the center flew one banner, the blue and green emblem of Earth, the symbol of unity. Admiral Hale addressed the crew. His voice carried through every ship, every station. Today we step beyond exploration. We answer a call not for ourselves, but for another people. We don't know what waits for us out there. But we know this: humanity has always faced the impossible and found a way to endure. This is our chance to show the galaxy who we are. Cheers erupted across the fleet. Elena stood on the observation deck of the research ship Aurora. As the engines prepared for jump, she gazed at the blue planet below. For centuries, Earth had been divided by borders and wars. But tonight, for the first time, humanity was leaving not as nations, but as one people, she whispered softly. "We heard your SOS, and we're coming." With a flash of light, the fleet disappeared into the stars, heading toward the unknown. Thus began the journey that would change everything. A simple SOS had forced humanity to make a choice, and in that choice they had found a new strength. The stars were no longer distant lights. They were calling, and humanity was ready to answer. The fleet cut through the void of space, their engines humming with quiet power. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Inside the ships, time passed differently. Crews trained, studied, and waited. Some wrote letters home. Others stared at the stars and wondered what they would find. On the research ship Aurora, Dr. Elena Marquez spent hours in the communication chamber, replaying fragments of the alien SOS. Each time she heard it, she felt the same weight. The voices were pleading, desperate. Somewhere far ahead, a whole civilization was holding on, hoping humanity would arrive before it was too late. Admiral Jonathan Hale studied the star charts in his command room. He was not a man who liked waiting, but deep space travel allowed nothing else. His officers kept the fleet running smoothly. But the silence of the unknown pressed on everyone's minds. At last, after months of travel, the fleet neared their destination. The star Ventara, glowing like a golden lantern in the dark. Around it orbited a green and blue world, the Lemurian colony. "Bring us into orbit," Hale ordered. The ship slowed, gliding into position above the planet. At first glance, it was beautiful. Oceans, forests, and shining cities. But as the fleet drew closer, the scars of war became clear. Smoke trails rose from burned-out districts. Craters pocked the land. Entire structures floated shattered in orbit, debris of ships that once stood guard. The fleet's bridge fell silent as the sight sank in. This is worse than the images showed," one officer whispered. Elena tightened her hands into fists. They weren't exaggerating. They really are losing. Moments later, a transmission flashed across the fleet's screens. A figure appeared, tall, elegant, with silver blue skin and eyes that glowed faintly like stars. This was a Lemurian. The alien spoke in slow, measured words. Thanks to weeks of translation work, the computer provided a rough but understandable voice. "You are the humans who answered our cry. We welcome you to Ventara, though we fear you have come too late." The alien introduced himself as Counselor Serath, one of the colony's leaders. He invited Admiral Hale and his team to the surface. The landing craft descended through the clouds. From above, the colony's main city looked like a jewel cracked in half. One side shining with tall towers of glass and crystal, the other scarred by blackened ruins. Hale, Elena, and a small delegation stepped onto alien soil for the first time. They were escorted into a grand hall, where dozens of Lemurians waited. Their features were graceful, almost fragile, their movements calm but heavy with sorrow. Serath welcomed them with a bow. "We did not believe your kind would come. Many among us doubted the signal would even reach your world. Yet you are here." Hale bowed in return. Humanity could not ignore a call for help. "If your people are in danger, we will do what we can." The hall murmured at his words. Some Lemurians seemed relieved, others skeptical. Then another voice rose, sharp and cold. A tall Lemurian female stepped forward, her eyes narrowing. "What can they do?" "Look at them. Their ships are few, their weapons primitive compared to ours. They are children playing in the stars." Elena clenched her jaw, but Hale answered calmly. "Perhaps, but sometimes children fight hardest when family is threatened." The woman turned away with disdain. Sarath raised his hand for silence. Do not mistake Counselor Vera's words for cruelty. Our people have suffered greatly. The swarm has broken our fleets, shattered our colonies. We are not united as we once were. The humans soon learned the truth. The Lumerians were advanced, yes. Masters of energy, creators of technology humanity could barely imagine. But their society was divided into factions, each with its own council and fleets. They had grown proud, each group unwilling to bow to the others. When the swarm came, instead of joining together, the factions argued, blaming one another. The result was disaster. Their defenses fell piece by piece, their fleets crushed in isolation. Now Ventara was the last stronghold. Admiral Hale sat in council chambers, listening to the debates. Lumerian leaders argued endlessly. Some wanted to negotiate with the swarm, others wanted to flee the planet, and still others demanded more power before committing their forces. At last, Hale stood. His voice cut through the chamber. Every moment you argue, the swarm grows stronger. You called for help and humanity came, but we cannot save you if you will not save yourselves. The chamber erupted with noise. Some leaders shouted back, offended. Others fell into uneasy silence. Sarath leaned forward. What do you suggest, Admiral? Hale's eyes were hard. Unity. If you keep fighting among yourselves, you will all fall. Humanity may not have the strongest weapons, but we know how to fight together. That is our strength. Later that night, Elena walked through the ruined part of the city. Alien families huddled in shelters. Children with glowing eyes looked up at her with curiosity. She felt their fear, their exhaustion. A young Lumerian boy approached her. Are you one of the humans? Yes, Elena said softly. The boy's face lit up with fragile hope. Then maybe we will not lose. Her throat tightened. Humanity had crossed the stars not only for strategy, but for lives like his. The next day, alarms blared across the city. Scouts reported swarm ships entering the system. Panic swept through the colony. Lumerian leaders immediately broke into arguments again. Should they fight, flee, or hide? Admiral Hale wasted no time. He gathered his officers and the human captains. If the Lumerians cannot agree, then we will hold the line ourselves. Get the fleet ready. The humans sprang into action. Their warships, though small, moved quickly into defensive positions. Engineers aboard freighters rigged makeshift weapons from mining lasers and cargo drones. Soldiers prepared ground defenses in case the enemy broke through. Watching them, some Lumerians were astonished. They waste no time, one whispered. They do not argue, they act. For the first time, a spark of respect flickered in their eyes. As the first swarm ships appeared on the horizon, Hale sent one final message to the Lumerian Council. You asked for help. We are here. But if you cannot stand together, then humanity will fight alone. The transmission ended. Silence followed. Then slowly, Sarath stood before his council. We cannot let strangers fight our battles while we hide. If the humans can stand together, so can we. Let us join them. Reluctantly, other counselors nodded. Even Vera, though bitter, agreed. The humans' courage had done what centuries of debate could not. It had forced the Lumerians to remember what unity meant. In orbit, the human fleet faced the approaching enemy. Dark insect-like ships swarmed forward, their numbers overwhelming. For a moment, even Hale felt the weight of hopelessness. Then new signals appeared on his screen. Lumerian warships, once held back by pride, now formed ranks beside the human vessels. Their captains hailed Hale. We will fight together. Hale smiled grimly. Then let's show them what unity looks like. The first battle for Ventara had begun. The dark shapes of the swarm ships filled the skies above Ventara. They moved like predators, hundreds of them flying in tight patterns, circling the planet like vultures waiting for the final strike. Their hulls were jagged, alive with eerie green lights. Unlike the sleek Lumerian vessels or the blocky human warships, the swarm's ships looked more like beasts than machines. On the bridge of the human flagship Resolute, Admiral Jonathan Hale stood tall, watching the enemy fleet spread across the stars. His officers waited for his orders, tension thick in the air. Report, Hale said firmly. Enemy numbers far exceed ours, replied Captain Lewis. But our fleet and the Lumerian vessels are holding formation. They await your command. Hale glanced at the tactical display. The Lumerians had powerful ships, faster and deadlier than humanity's, but they lacked coordination. Already some were drifting slightly out of formation, nervous, unsure. The humans, by contrast, kept tight ranks, their discipline steady. Hale's voice carried across the fleet. All ships, this is Admiral Hale. The enemy believes numbers alone will win them this battle. They are wrong. We will show them the strength of unity and the power of human resolve. Hold your lines. No one breaks. The first wave struck. The swarm fighters dived like a storm of blades, spitting plasma fire. Lumerian ships fired back with elegant beams of energy, carving through enemy hulls. Human ships with less advanced weapons responded with missiles and railguns, filling the void with streaks of light. But for every swarm ship destroyed, 3 more appeared. The battle grew fierce. Explosions lit the sky and the cries of captains echoed across comms. On the surface of Ventara, Dr. Elena Marquez watched the chaos from the Aurora's command deck. "They'll be overwhelmed," she whispered. "There are too many." Yet even as she spoke, something unexpected happened. A human freighter, the Iron Hope, was under heavy attack. With no real weapons, it should have been destroyed. Instead, its engineers acted with desperate creativity. They reprogrammed mining lasers, normally used for carving rock, into makeshift cannons. The beams weren't perfect, but they were strong enough to burn holes through swarm fighters. The ship's captain shouted through the comms, "Mining lasers online. Let's cut them down." Cheers erupted across the channel as the Iron Hope blasted 3 enemy ships out of the sky. Other freighters followed suit. Cargo cranes were turned into battering rams, drones repurposed into kamikaze attackers. Even shield generators were adjusted to fry approaching enemies. The Lumerians, watching this, were stunned. "They are turning tools into weapons," one whispered in disbelief. Elena smiled. "That's what humans do. We make use of what we have." The battle raged on. Human warships fought with discipline, protecting weaker freighters and plugging gaps in the line. Lumerian ships unleashed devastating energy blasts, but it was the humans' improvisation that kept the formation from collapsing. A swarm cruiser broke through, heading straight for the planet. Hale reacted instantly. "Divert the Resolute." "Ram course, full speed." His officers froze. "Sir, if we not collide, cut across its flank." "Trust me." The Resolute veered sharply, engines burning bright. At the last second, it skimmed the cruiser's side, releasing a barrage of missiles directly into its exposed hull. The enemy ship exploded in a blinding flash. The crew erupted in cheers. Hale allowed himself a small smile. Never underestimate precision over power. But the swarm pressed harder. Their ships surrounded the human and Lumerian fleets, pounding shields and tearing through hulls. One Lumerian vessel, the Vathar, was caught in the crossfire, engines failing. "Admiral," Elena's voice came through the comms, urgent. "The Vathar won't hold. They'll be destroyed." Hale's eyes narrowed. "Not if we can help it." "All ships focus fire. Clear a path." Human ships shifted formation, their movements fast and coordinated. Missiles streaked through the void. Railguns hammered enemy ships, and freighters used improvised weapons to push the swarm back. Together they opened a narrow corridor. "Lumerian vessel Vathar," Hale called. "Take the path we've cleared. Go now." The Lumerian captain hesitated, stunned by the human sacrifice, but then the ship surged forward, escaping through the gap. The swarm tried to pursue, but humans closed ranks again, blocking the way. For the first time, the Lumerians truly saw what humanity could do. Inside the Lumerian council chambers, leaders watched the battlefield in silence. Councillor Vera, once critical of the humans, spoke quietly. "They fight as one. Even with less power, they protect each other without hesitation." Sarath nodded gravely. "They remind us of what we have forgotten." Back in orbit, the battle reached its peak. Swarm ships swirled like a hurricane, overwhelming with sheer numbers. Human ships were battered, shields failing, but still they held. On the Aurora, Elena spotted something strange in the enemy's patterns. She zoomed in on the tactical feed. "Admiral, their attack waves are repeating. They're not random. They're following a cycle." Hale's eyes lit with recognition. "Of course. They're hive-minded. They repeat their formations because they're not adapting." He turned to his officers. "If they won't adapt, then we will. Feed me their cycle timings. Prepare to bait them into a trap." The humans changed tactics. Instead of holding steady, they pretended to weaken at precise moments. The swarm, locked in their predictable cycle, rushed in eagerly. But each time the humans snapped shut like a trap, blasting them at close range. Explosions rocked the battlefield. Entire waves of swarm ships fell into the humans' rhythm, cut down again and again. The Lumerians, quick to learn, began coordinating with the humans, following their timing and adding devastating firepower to each ambush. The tide of battle shifted. Cheers echoed across the fleet. For the first time since the swarm arrived, hope filled the skies of Ventara, but the swarm was not finished. A massive vessel emerged from the shadows, larger than any seen before. Its hull glowed with green fire, its weapons bristling with deadly power. The humans stared in silence. One officer whispered, That's a command ship." The giant vessel moved slowly but with terrifying purpose, its cannons already charging. Hale's jaw tightened. "This battle isn't over yet," he said, "but we've shown them something they never expected. Human ingenuity. And we're not done." The fleet braced as the command ship advanced and the battle for Ventara entered its most dangerous phase. The command ship of the swarm moved with deliberate menace, its massive hull bristling with weapons. It was unlike anything humanity had ever seen, and even the Lumerians regarded it with fear. Every officer on the human fleet knew that if it unleashed its full firepower, the defenses around Ventara could be wiped out in minutes. Admiral Jonathan Hale stood on the bridge of the Resolute, staring at the glowing enemy behemoth. His officers waited for him to give orders. Every eye was on him. There was no turning back. Hale turned to the tactical display. "This is it. The enemy thinks they have the advantage, but they underestimate us. Humanity has one weapon they cannot calculate: ingenuity and courage. Prepare for Operation Gravity Trap." The bridge went quiet. Some officers exchanged nervous glances. Operation Gravity Trap was a risky maneuver, almost unthinkable. It involved drawing the swarm fleet into the gravitational field of a collapsing star near the Ventara system, using its immense energy to crush the enemy ships. If anything went wrong, the human and Lumerian fleets could be destroyed along with them. Hale's voice carried across the comms. "I know the risk, but if we hesitate, the swarm will destroy Ventara. We either act boldly or everything we've fought for is lost." The crew nodded. There was fear, yes, but also determination. Meanwhile, Dr. Elena Marquez worked feverishly in the Aurora's lab. She and a team of engineers calculated the trajectory needed to lure the swarm toward the collapsing star. Every equation, every calculation had to be perfect. One mistake and the gravitational forces could tear the fleets apart. Elena glanced at the star, a glowing orb at the edge of the system. Its light pulsed with raw power, a constant reminder of the danger they were about to face. She took a deep breath. "We can do this. We have to do this," she whispered. The plan was set. Human ships would act as bait, drawing the swarm toward the star. Lumerian vessels, now coordinated with the humans, would flank the enemy and fire energy nets designed to disrupt their formation. Freighters carrying makeshift weapons would provide cover. Admiral Hale addressed the entire fleet. "Once we reach the star's gravitational field, timing is everything. Do not panic. Trust your training. Trust each other. Humanity survives by acting together. Today we will prove it to the galaxy." The fleet moved out, engines blazing. As predicted, the swarm took the bait. Their massive command ship led the charge, hundreds of smaller vessels following. They assumed the human fleet would flee, easy prey for their overwhelming numbers. But the humans did not run. Hale ordered precise maneuvers, drawing the enemy closer to the star. Gravity wells tugged at the ships, bending trajectories, making navigation difficult. Human pilots, trained for precision, kept formation with deadly accuracy. Lumerian captains followed, finally learning to trust human strategy. Elena monitored the forces, her fingers flying across the console. "Hold them here. Just a little longer. Perfect, now." The trap was sprung. Human and Lumerian ships fired energy nets, massive fields of magnetic energy that disrupted the swarm's formation. Enemy ships began colliding, some tumbling toward the star under its immense gravity. The swarm reacted quickly, but it was too late. Their patterns had been predicted. Their instincts turned against them. Every mistake was punished by the combined firepower of the Allied fleet. Hale's voice rang out. "Keep pushing them. Don't let up. Today humanity fights not just for Ventara, but for survival itself." The bridge was alive with motion. Pilots shouted, engineers adjusted weapons, and scientists relayed constant calculations. Every move had to be precise. One slip could mean disaster. The swarm command ship fought back fiercely. Its energy cannons fired streams of green plasma. tearing through human and Lumerian ships alike. A human cruiser took a direct hit, shuddering as shields failed. "Status," Hale barked. "Shields at 30%, one officer yelled. "Hull integrity compromised." Hale didn't flinch. "Divert all power to weapons. Focus fire on the command ship." "We end this now." Elena adjusted the gravity simulations, sending updates to every vessel. "Now, follow the new trajectory. Use the star's pull to crush them." The command ship was drawn too close. Its engines struggled against the gravitational force. Smaller swarm ships, unable to resist, were pulled into chaotic orbits. Explosions lit the space around the star as ships collided and were destroyed. Yet even as victory seemed near, danger remained. A group of swarm vessels broke free, turning toward Ventara's surface. The humans and Lumerians realized they could not let these ships escape to attack the planet. Hale made a bold decision. "I'll lead a strike team to intercept them. Take as many with me as you can spare." Human and Lumerian pilots followed without hesitation. They dove into the fray using every tactic they had learned. Swarm ships were destroyed one by one. But the engagement was brutal. The human ingenuity that had saved them before, improvised weapons, rapid maneuvers, calculated risks, proved decisive. Elena watched from orbit, heart pounding, as the strike team engaged the enemy. The humans moved like a single organism, each ship complementing the others, covering weaknesses, exploiting opportunities. Slowly, the tide turned. The last swarm command ship was trapped in the star's gravity well, unable to maneuver, its hull torn apart by collisions with debris and enemy fire. Smaller vessels had been destroyed or captured in the gravitational trap. The remaining swarm ships fled the system, broken and scattered. A cheer erupted across the human fleet. Lumerians looked on in awe, their eyes wide with wonder. They had seen the impossible accomplished. Counselor Sarath addressed the fleet, voice trembling with emotion. "Never have I seen such courage, such strategy. From any race, humanity, you have saved Ventara and our people. You have shown us what unity and intelligence can do." Hale allowed himself a tired smile. "It was a joint effort. Your people fought bravely too. But never forget, humans survive because we adapt, we think, and we never give up." Back on Ventara, the human engineers and soldiers began assisting the Lumerians with repairs. Buildings were rebuilt, energy grids restored, and communication systems patched. Children ran through streets that were once littered with debris, laughter echoing where fear had reigned. Elena walked through the city, marveling at the recovery. Lumerians approached her, offering thanks in words that sounded almost musical. One young Lumerian girl held her hand. "Because of you, we live." "You are brave," Elena smiled gently. "No, we all survived together. That is the real bravery." That night, the fleets regrouped in orbit. The stars, once a silent void, now seemed alive with possibility. Humanity had proven something not only to the Lumerians but to themselves. Against overwhelming odds, they had fought with intelligence, courage, and cooperation. They had turned the impossible into reality. Hale stood at the observation deck of the Resolute, looking at the glowing star that had almost destroyed them. "We have won this battle," he said softly. "But the war may not be over. Still, we have shown the galaxy that humans are not to be underestimated." Elena joined him. "They will remember this," she said. "Not just the weapons, not just the fight, but the way we think, the way we adapt. That is humanity's true power." Hale nodded, "And it will only grow stronger." Above them, Ventara's night sky sparkled with hope. Humanity had faced near-certain disaster and emerged victorious, not through raw strength alone, but through strategy, courage, and the unyielding will to survive. The turning point had come. The swarm had been humbled, and humanity's ingenuity had reshaped the course of the battle. Tomorrow they would rebuild. But tonight they had proven something. The smoke and fire of battle had faded, leaving behind a planet scarred but alive. Ventara's cities, though damaged, stood as testament to the resilience of its people. The swarm had been driven away, at least for now, and humanity had proven itself not only as allies but as saviors. Admiral Jonathan Hale watched from the bridge of the Resolute. The human fleet remained in orbit, patrolling, ready to respond should the enemy return. Even now, his mind raced with plans for reconstruction and defense. Humanity had shown its strength, but the galaxy was vast and threats were never truly gone. "Status report," Hale called. All swarm ships destroyed or fleeing, came the reply. Lumerian losses are being stabilized. Civilian casualties limited thanks to evacuation efforts. Hale nodded, satisfaction tempered with vigilance. Good, but this is only the beginning. We must help them rebuild. On the surface, Dr. Elena Marquez moved among the Lumerian people, coordinating teams of humans and Lumerian engineers. The destruction had been widespread. Energy grids shattered, transport networks down, and buildings reduced to rubble. Yet every challenge was met with determination. Humans lifted heavy debris with improvised machinery. Lumerians recalibrated damaged energy conduits, and together they restored what had been lost. The collaboration was remarkable. Where Lumerians had relied on technology alone, humans brought creativity, problem-solving, and teamwork. A Lumerian engineer named Theron approached Elena. Your people, they do not wait for perfection. They adapt. They use what is at hand and make it work. Elena smiled. That's humanity. We survive by thinking, by learning, by trying. And sometimes we make mistakes. But we keep going. Theron nodded thoughtfully. I see now why you succeeded. Your ingenuity, it is not just a weapon. It is a way of life. In the city's main square, Councillor Sereth addressed the gathered population. Humans and Lumerians alike listened, a crowd that had grown quiet after weeks of fear. Today we witness a new chapter in our history, Sereth began. The swarm came, a threat unlike any we have known. We were divided, uncertain, and nearly defeated. But humans arrived, not for power, not for glory, but to help. And in their courage, their adaptability, and their unity, we saw a truth we had forgotten. Humanity's strength lies not only in their ships or weapons, but in their will to survive and protect others. The crowd murmured in agreement. Children clung to their parents. Adults wiped tears from their eyes, and humans standing among them felt a warmth they had not expected. They had been fighting far from home in a strange world, yet here they were, embraced as heroes. Hale joined Sereth on the podium. He addressed the people, voice firm but gentle. Ventara has endured much, and your people are resilient. But we have learned something together, that courage, creativity, and cooperation are more powerful than any technology. Humans fight not because they are the strongest, but because they refuse to give up. Today we have all survived because we worked as one. That is humanity's true power. The crowd erupted into cheers. Even Councillor Vera, who had once doubted humans, nodded in respect. She approached Hale privately and said, Your people have shown us what it means to act without hesitation, to think without fear. We have much to learn from you. Hale placed a hand over his heart. And we have much to learn from you as well. Together we are stronger than any enemy. Over the following weeks, reconstruction continued. The human fleet provided resources and manpower. Lumerians contributed their advanced technology, and both sides shared knowledge. The process was not easy. Old rivalries among Lumerian factions occasionally resurfaced. Yet humanity's example inspired cooperation. Slowly, barriers fell, plans were shared, and a united council emerged. Elena watched children play in the streets, laughing as humans and Lumerians played games together. It was a small miracle, but one that symbolized the healing of a world almost lost. A young Lumerian girl tugged at Elena's hand. Do you think the swarm will come back? She asked. Elena knelt down, looking into her glowing eyes. Maybe, but now you are stronger. And remember this, when people work together, they can face anything. Humans have taught you that. You can teach it too. The girl nodded, hope shining in her expression. Meanwhile, the human fleet began preparations for their return to Earth. Their mission had been a success, but they could not remain in orbit indefinitely. Supplies were limited, and the humans had responsibilities waiting back home. Hale gathered his senior officers. We have done what many thought impossible, but we cannot claim victory for ourselves. Humanity's true power is not in conquest, it is in courage, cooperation, and the ability to rise to challenges no matter how great. That is the message we take home, Captain Lewis nodded. And the Lumerians? They will remember, Hale said. And when they look to the stars, they will know humans are allies worth trusting, friends worth counting on. Before departure, Sereth and Hale met one last time in the main council hall. Humans, Sereth said, his voice sincere. You came to us when we were weak. You showed us that true strength is not in numbers or weapons, but in unity, creativity, and will. You have changed our world and our view of the universe. For that, we owe you gratitude beyond words, Hale smiled. The credit goes to both our peoples. You fought with us, learned from us, and adapted. This victory is ours together. But remember this. Humans survive because we never stop trying, because we never accept defeat as final. That is who we are. Sarath nodded, bowing slightly. Then we will honor that lesson. Humanity has taught us that survival is a choice and hope is a weapon. As the human ships departed, the citizens of Ventara lined the streets, waving and cheering. Children held banners with Earth's emblem, and humans aboard the Resolute felt a sense of pride and fulfillment unlike any other. They had not come seeking glory. They had come answering a call, and in doing so, had shown the galaxy what humans were truly capable of. Elena looked back at the planet one last time. The fires of war had been extinguished, replaced with light and laughter. She knew this was just the beginning. Humanity had crossed the stars and proven its value. Other civilizations would hear of their courage, their adaptability, and their refusal to surrender. "Goodbye, Ventara," she whispered. "We'll always remember you, and you'll remember us." In the quiet of space, the Resolute led the fleet home. Stars stretched out endlessly ahead, vast and inviting. Humanity had faced the impossible, confronted fear and destruction, and emerged stronger. The SOS that had called them into the unknown had forced humans to show their true power, not just weapons or ships, but the indomitable spirit that defined them. Admiral Hale looked toward the future. The galaxy is bigger than we imagined, but now it knows us. It knows what humans can do, and wherever we go, we carry not only our own hopes, but the trust of those we have helped. Elena stood beside him, gazing at the stars. They will never forget humanity. No, Hale said softly. And neither will we. The fleet surged forward, leaving Ventara behind, but carrying with them a legacy of courage, ingenuity, and the enduring truth that humanity's greatest power was not what they built, but who they were. Above the void of space, the stars seemed brighter than before. For the first time, the universe knew that humans could rise to any challenge and change the fate of worlds. Humanity had shown its true power, and it was limitless.